Ladies and gentlemen, mesdames, messieurs, welcome back to Then and Now, the weekly show I do with James George Jatras, author of I Tried to Warn You, a collection of essays and writings from over the decades. Welcome, Jim. How you doing?
Howdy, Jason. As well as can be, I guess.
Well, it's another week, another interesting developments, we'll put it that way. We have on the board Russia, Ukraine, possible drone black swans. We got Trump's Gaza rebuilding project, and Moldova. Who knew? Moldova, little Moldova.
Who knew?
Getting Sorosed by Twinkie Soros, as I like to call him now.
Why do you hate democracy?
I mean, I love democracy. I love it, Jim. It's my favorite. It's my favorite of all the accuracies. Of all the
putting the mock in democracy.
Yeah, Hey, elections are fun, aren't they? They're just fun to. They're just a fun thing to do. Just do them, and if if the results come out a bit wonky, you just have to make an adjustment. That's all. It's those damn Russians, Jim. It's always those damn Russians just monkeying up the works.
Everywhere. They're everywhere.
Man. Yeah. I found one under my couch just this morning. It was weird. I'm like, get out of here, you bloody
Russian. By the way, have you heard that the North Magnetic Pole is going from Canada into Siberia, and the Russians are stealing that too?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. That whole magnetic pole shift. It's just to free up the Northern Passage. That's all they're trying to do, those bastards.
That's it.
Anyways, talking about Russia, Russia made a little announcement about a possible false flag we're going to be possibly seeing in the very near future. Of course, if you're in Russia, you can blame Ukraine. And that's pretty good, or the Poles, which I always endorse. I think we should blame the Polish more for things. So this is from Geopolitics. Breaking. Russia states that Ukraine is preparing a provocation in Poland, a staged infiltration of a supposed Russian-Belarusian sabotage group into NATO territory. According to the Russian Foreign Intelligence Service, SVR, the operation will involve the Freedom of Russia Legion and the Belarusian, I'm not even going to try that one, Kalonutsky Regiment, both fighting on the side of the Ukrainian armed forces. The plan reportedly includes simulating an attack on critical infrastructure inside Poland to create the appearance of the Russian involvement. Moscow emphasizes that Warsaw is aware of the plan. It was allegedly developed jointly by Ukrainian Military Intelligence, GUR, and Polish Special Services. So, translation, the Americans. The SVR also reports that recent drone incursions into Poland and Romania were organized by Kiev with the goal of drawing NATO's European members into direct confrontation with Moscow. And there's our man looking a bit concerned and ghoulish at the same time. Not the best photograph to lead with. But,
who is that? What's the guy's name? For messages, it just says the service doesn't give the gentleman's name. It looks like.
Yeah, I forget now. I know it, but I forget. Some of these, you cover this for long enough, and they all start running together a little bit. But he's a guy in Russia. Anyways, thoughts on a possible black swan false flag attack by Russians and Belarusian forces into Poland, I guess to, hey man, worked in World War I and World War II, right? You attacked Poland and all of a sudden, whoop, there you go. There's a world war. And that's what you're aiming for.
What was that? Gleiwitz, I think, the Gleiwitz incident on the Polish-German border in 1939.
Right.
Well, first off, what I understand, Black Swan event, that's supposed to be something unexpected and unpredictable when these things are coming so thick and fast and are so kind of boringly predictable. Do they really qualify as Black Swan events, or are they just regular white swan events now?
More and more of a brown
so
swan.
Many of these things now.
Magical brown
swan or a gray swan or gray dodo. I don't know exactly. Well, you're Canadian. Maybe they're loons.
Hey, don't bring us into this, man. This isn't our fight on this one. Come on now.
Sure.
Don't
Anyway,
don't besmirch the integrity of a good Canadian goose, my friend. Come on now, they make fantastic
yeah.
jackets.
All right. Well, let's as we say in the sports business, let's go to the tape. Where are we here? I mean, Trump has come in. He's tried to get the Russians to agree to ceasefire. That didn't fly. He tried to get the Russians to agree to a tripartite meeting with Putin and the little troll from Kiev, and that didn't fly. So now they're talking about the United States is going to manufacture a bunch of weapons and sell them to the Europeans, who then will give them to the Ukrainians. But as we pointed out, we don't have the weapons, they don't have the money, and the Ukrainians don't have the men. Other than that, it's a great plan. And whatever we're talking about in terms of manufacturing weapons, like the latest flavor of the month is Tomahawk cruise missiles. But a lot of people point out that we simply don't have those missiles to ship over anytime soon. So that seems to be more for show than anything. This, it seems to me, is where the rubber meets the road, where if there's any hope of keeping Ukraine going and getting NATO in a more direct way that involves the European countries, but not the United States directly, the United States still standing behind and providing the so-called backstop, this seems to be what it's aimed at. I just don't understand exactly what they want. They obviously want to find some scenario that would get European troops into Ukraine. And in what capacity, doing what exactly, I don't know. I mean, would they be like put in some small numbers initially, dipping the toe in the water to see how the Russians react, to put them in some kind of support roles? I mean, kind of like what Trump is doing with the National Guard in American cities, where they're going to be force multipliers or something like that, where they could put some British or French or Dutch or other troops into Western Ukraine somewhere in some kind of support capacity, and saying, well, no, we're not engaging in combat. We're just here supporting the Ukrainians because NATO territory has been violated.
Well, they've been doing this anyways, right? That's what the plan.
Well, not overtly. I mean, there have been
not officially
American and what they've been doing is either sending contractors in or sending them in, in mufti. Basically, they're not they're uniformed under NATO flags, as far as I know. But rather they're there in some kind of a covert capacity. Right. Not necessarily secretly, but not declared. In other words, there are no U.S., British, French, German troops who are deployed in Ukraine as such. So, right. And I think that's the line they're trying to cross. Yeah, or they may be actually active duty personnel, but they're not declared as such. They're seconded to the Ukrainian forces or to some private outfit or something like that. I don't know exactly what their status is, but this seemed to be all designed towards some way to get some kind of initially small European force in there. And remember, originally they were floating in terms of, well, when there's a peace settlement, well, they'll put them in there as a reassurance force. Well, now that we know there's not going to be a peace settlement, they're trying to find some other way to get them in there. The real question, Jason, is this. I mean, you've heard all the rah-rah-rah pro-Russian types on Twitter and elsewhere saying, all right, if they do that, the Russians are going to smack them. They're going to smack them. They're going to destroy them. Maybe they will. Maybe they will. I'm not so sure, but I think the thing that people are overlooking is that by their restraint and their repeated ignoring of crossing of red lines, the Russians have given these people every indication that they might be able to get away with it. It's almost like they've been saying, we'll threaten, we'll bluster, we'll threaten consequences, but we don't really follow through. So even people say we'll hit these forces if they go in. It might be worth the risk, because the Russians will look at that and said, do we really want to be launching an attack on British, French, German, whatever forces that go in there and engage in a direct war with NATO as a possibility, which the Russians have clearly been trying to avoid? I don't know what the answer to that is, but I think the Russians partly have themselves to blame for sending the kind of we're restrained we're not going to react message that encourages these people to think, oh, the Russians are weak. They will be deterred from hitting these forces.
I mean, the other thing the Russians have to consider is, how many of their allies in BRICS or China or whatever will actually support them if they go into a hot war with NATO, because they would need support at that point. Like, granted, I think even if it's insane, because NATO would have to, or Europe would have to field hundreds of thousands of men, and with no real training, no real anything, probably very few armaments, because they're running low on everything. Allegedly, this is what we're told. So they're going to be sending in tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of troops. So that's the only thing that would actually make a difference. And they would be just grounded up. They would get mercilessly killed. Now, I'm sure you send enough people with pew-pews, they'll do some damage. But I mean, the amount of people they'd have to field to do any damage to Russia would be insane for Europe, which I'm not discounting, because these people are evil, and we can just give up on whole logical morality systems. So there's that, but at the same time, that would still declare a hot war between NATO and Russia.
Yes, I don't think that's what they have in mind. I think what they have in mind is to be able to put Western forces in a way that probably are not without strong combat capabilities, that by their presence would deter the Russians from attacking those areas, they hope, for the reason you suggest. The Russians don't want a hot war with NATO. So they put, say, a French battalion in Lvov or in Odessa. That would deter the Russians from hitting those areas. That's probably what they're thinking. I don't know if they have to do it officially. But I can't say based on Russian behavior. Yeah, exactly. I think based on their behavior so far, I can't say for a fact the Russians would hit them. Maybe they would. I don't know. I think that's where the roll of the dice is right now.
Yeah, and I think that's a smart observation, Jim. Especially when if they're now into the, if the Europeans and the allies and Ukrainians and all the rest of it are basically acknowledging the war is lost, but now they're trying to keep as much territory as humanly possible from falling into Russian hands, especially if we're talking places like Odessa, Kiev, any other areas they want to ensure the Russians don't have, either for occupation, long-term occupation, or for bargaining chips. That makes sense, because we also know that going into this, I mean, BlackRock and other groups have essentially just bought up whatever's going to be left of Ukraine. Like, whatever's left of Ukraine is not going to be owned by Ukrainians. It's already bought and sold, and it's a matter of who it goes to: the British or BlackRock, or both, or who knows, right? And now when we get to the Trump Gaza reconstruction plan, we can start to see a blueprint, and we'll see how that is installed. But I mean, even Witkoff has come out and said that this Trump Gaza plan, which is getting all the rave reviews from all the wonderful people, Netanyahu loves it. The Arabs love it. This is what we're being told. So if this is true, and this is what's going to happen, and if Witkoff is accurate in saying that this is what they at least want to do with Ukraine in the reconstruction, then we're starting to see the future plans of all of this, and possibly what happens with Moldova, what happens with all these little rump states, where now it'll become investment states. And this is now, I think, a blueprint for techno states, where sovereignty's off the board. You'll be mixed and mingled, so domestic, let's say, heritage peoples will now become minorities in their own country as they bring in global south and whoever, and these things now become corporations. It just becomes the Moldovan corporation, with IKEA and Amazon and all the wonderful all the wonderful people just doing that. That's
one big one.
It's out of a cyberpunk
one big
dystopia,
international house of pancakes. Yeah, exactly. Or last you pointed out, it's what was the name of the corporation that owned New Detroit and RoboCop
CCP.
or whatever? It's
is it CCP?
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's CCP and RoboCop. with robots and all. I'm sure there's
Yeah.
going to be
No,
Elon bots. And I'm only laughing, folks. You're going to see me laughing a lot during this. It's one of those things where I was told they all work for the same people, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. And I was like, I've been working with that in the background, looking at all this stuff, and then this drops, and you're like, they're all working for the same people. This is all part of the plan. I'm sure.
And by the way,
yeah.
You know what the official currency will be of new Gaza and new Ukraine? It'll be U.S. stablecoin.
Yes. 100%. As they tank, as all these bond markets tank, and they basically they create this parallel bond market through Bitcoin, stable coins, whatever, and that becomes.
By the way, I did not understand any of that. Jay sent me a video. Some guy who actually knows this stuff explained it pretty well. That essentially what they're doing is taking all the U.S. debt in the form of bonds and then securitizing it as ostensibly a unit of currency, but what it actually is a basically a dollar-denominated treasury instrument that you're actually holding a chunk of debt, pretending to be an asset. And that will, and somehow, this is the part I don't understand, but somehow all of our dollars will get converted into this fake digital currency stablecoin. But so instead of what we're holding, and originally, if you're holding a dollar that originally was supposed to be backed up by gold or silver, is now backed up by nothing but a sliced and diced treasury instrument, debt instrument, and that would be the perfect currency for these places, and maybe they'll like the whatever the board is for new Gaza. They'll have a board for. Remember, keep in mind too, Trump still has to make good on whatever that dumb deal was he signed with Zelensky about our taking over all the mineral assets in Ukraine. They can't preserve those assets unless they physically preserve a Ukrainian state that made those assurances.
Well, yes, and I'm sure this is actually part of Trump and Putin's negotiations, and maybe this is where the back and forth has been, because I'm sure Russia either wants in on this or is going to do their own version of it. Remember, Putin was all about 15-minute cities, and he's all about like a lot of these other technocratic instruments. Putin has not shied away from any of that, so it's not like you have a clear divide between. Moralistically, we're talking about LGBT and woke and all that stuff, but that's not going to last.
Sure.
So that's been the dividing line between Moscow and DC, amongst other things. But let's just say like the clear thing that they've been differentiating themselves with. But everything else is 100% the same. It's just a matter of who's going to sit on the board.
Yeah, and that's where I think you're right. I think Putin would make that deal if he could. I guess the only question is, will he not be in a position where he can? In other words, if we're in a situation where there simply will not be a deal between the West and Russia, simply because the West will never concede on certain points that would recognize Russia's legitimate security needs, then that deal will never be made. And no matter how much Putin would like to make that deal, it just won't happen.
Right. Yeah. I mean, this is just the ongoing negotiation.
He'll have to do the right thing to spite himself.
Just briefly, there's been also the drone story. This started happening, I guess, last week or at the end of September. Drones over Scandinavia. Now, these are the clearest pictures I think that have been supplied so far. I won't bother playing the video here. But these look a bit more. I don't know my drones, right? So who knows? But these look a little bit more advanced than I think what I've seen out of Ukraine. Of course, I think it was a Danish prime minister or a Danish politician went online talking about UFOs and aliens and all the rest of it, and it's just like, this is obviously just man-made, earthly drones out in the skies of Scandinavia. So you can speculate wildly over why they're over Denmark and Sweden and all the rest of it. But I mean, this is also this is also giving a little bit of maybe credence to this idea that that the Allies are planning on staging something and blaming it on Russia if they can get away with it. Just as you said, then to formally put boots on the ground, put UN, NATO, someone, right, anybody on the ground in certain cities, and then basically call Russia's bluff on it. So.
Yeah, I don't think it can be UN because you'd never get that through the Security Council.
Right. Well, who knows now? Yes, yeah, you're right because of vetoes.
Yeah.
But yeah. So there's that to wonder about. Before we get to the Gaza plan, let's talk about the Expat Money Summit. You're going to be on a panel, Jim, over on expatmoneysummit.com. You can go buy your tickets. Every time.
It breaks you
get me every time. Every time.
Yay!
You think it'd get old at some point, but it really doesn't. So Expat Money Summit.
I'm old.
Expat Money Online Summit 2025. The future is Latin America. Oh my goodness. This is a conference put on by Mikhail Thorup with a heck of a lineup. Jim Jatras is, of course, going to be there, part of a panel talking about geopolitics, and examining where to put your money, have bug out bags, eliminate your taxes, drink good wine on the beach while you still can. Hey, these are all good things. You can join the jam-packed 3-day event, learn how to launch your Latin America Plan B plan. This is going on from October 10th to the 12th of 2025. You can go buy your tickets. They're free, but you can also sign up for some VIP packages. And if you use a coupon code now, you're going to save 20% off. So that's a good deal. So go check out expatmoneysummit.com. Have you had your meeting about that? Give us a teaser trailer there, Jim. What do you think
that's
you're going to be talking about?
That's going to be on October 6th.
The conference between 10th and the 12th.
Right. So we're having our talk on October 6th.
Oh, okay. You're having your meeting on October 6th.
Me and Dave DeCamp. I don't know what my time on the conference is. I haven't been told that yet, but I've been told we're going to have a little preview among my panel on the 6th just to get our stories straight. Right.
Well, go check it out. If you want more Jim Jatras, and I know you do, go check out expatmoneysummit.com. Mark Claire is a super friend of the channel. I think he's going to be hosting your panel, so that'll be interesting to watch too, because we love ourselves some Mark Claire. So go check out expatmoneysummit.com and go get yourself some coffee over at Fox and Sons, headed and owned by Steve Fox, a good friend of the show. It's a family-owned business. You can get yourself some coffee, foxandsons.com. Use a coupon code now. If you have orders of $30 or more, you save yourself it's 15% off. Orders of $30 or more. If orders of $40 or more, you get free shipping anywhere within the continental United States. Look at that. And reminder, like, subscribe, and share. Hit the like button on YouTube and all the places, Spotify, iTunes, wherever you're listening to this in the future. And send us some money. I see Kenneth Wells just send us $5. Thank you so much, Kenneth. You can send it over here on Super Chats on YouTube, or you can send it over on Streamlabs or on PayPal. Links in the description below and in the chat and all the places. Make sure you give us a subscribe and like and subscribe. If you're on Spotify, subscribe to the channel. Every little bit helps grow the channel, because that's what we're into. Growth. Reconstruction, growth. Maybe I can get a Trump Gaza plan for the podcast. What about that?
Yeah.
It's well, stranger things have happened. Let's listen to this. This is Trump talking to reporters specifically about this plan, which we're going to get into in a second. We talked about it a little bit on the stream last night with Emergent Perspective. and it was something that I was onboarded on live because I hadn't read it before we started streaming. So go check that out when you have a chance. But this is Trump speaking to reporters about the Gaza reconstruction plan.
Plan to get Hamas to respond to the ceasefire proposal you put out?
Well, we're going to do about 3 or 4 days. We'll see how it is. All of the Arab countries are signed up. The Muslim countries are all signed up. Israel's all signed up. We're just waiting for Hamas. And Hamas is either going to be doing it or not. And if it's not, it's going to be a very sad end.
How long do you plan?
So it's nice little democracy threats. This is also on the heels of Netanyahu visiting again. And here's what Trump had to say about
and the
Israel.
People of the Middle East want it. The people of enemies of Israel want it, but they don't have really too many enemies right now. And you know what? Many countries have gained.
Israel doesn't have that many enemies right now, Jim. That's amazing. Someone should tell the ADL this, because the ADL just came out with a stat saying that 47% of the world doesn't like Israel, has an unfavorable view of Israel, especially the younger generations. They're very concerned about all this, but apparently Israel has no enemies. Just weird. Must be the Russians.
They can shut up shop. I mean, their job is done. It's Miller time. They can just go out of business. Mission accomplished.
Do they set these meetings up on Saturdays so Trump can go around like turning on the lights?
Great respect for Israel, for the way they fight, for the job they do, including me. I had respect anyway, but they gained respect. History has shown us that those who have relations with Israel have thrived, while those who have devoted resources and attention toward the destruction and even annihilation of Israel have languished. They haven't done well. Israel is not going anywhere. They're going to coexist with other people and countries in the region, from Syria to Lebanon to Saudi Arabia. The promise.
That's a very interesting way to put that, Jim. They're going to coexist with Syria and Lebanon and Iraq, and even Iran. I'm sure at some point they'll just coexist. After a little bit of light bombing. It's good for a friendship. You just kind of like you gotta establish some ground rules first.
What do they call that? The rough wooing between England and Scotland back in the 16th century. The rough wooing. So it's So is it coexisting with Syria when you've got Israeli forces, but basically almost all the way to Damascus? How big is the security zone going to be in that coexistence?
Well, how many people you got, I guess is the question. The other point I was going to add. Yeah, I mean the Greater Israel Project too. I guess the Jews are going to have to start recruiting, because if they're going to start populating all the way up to Ukraine, that's a big administration zone. I don't know where they're going to get the people.
I know America. I mean, the second largest number of Jews in the world after Israel is America, right?
I guess. I mean, did you hear?
It might even be bigger. I don't know.
Did you hear Huckabee talk about Israel and basically refer to Israel like his wife? He told some story that said, like, if you came over to if you said, hey, we want to have dinner with you, and we really, really love you, and we think you're amazing, you're like, oh, thank you very much. And you come over to my house for dinner, and you come in and you say, but we don't like your wife. She has to leave. He'd be like, no, you have to leave. And he's of course referring to Israel as his wife. Nice. That's a nice one. I think it's.
Well, it's right up there with Tammy Bruce, the State Department spokesman, saying that America is the greatest country in the world next to Israel.
Right. Did you see Netanyahu did a presser where, I don't know if I have the graphic, but it's 50 states, one Israel was on the flag, was on the banner behind him. He's talking to a whole bunch of influencers about how they're going to take TikTok and X, and it's really important for these influencers to really spread the Israeli message to far and wide across the social medias. Yeah, it's nice. Let's just finish this.
So the new Middle East is so clear.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, go big or go home. I mean, you can't fault Bibi for thinking small.
Nope, not at all.
Within our reach. This is the closest we've ever come to real peace, not fake peace, not political fool's peace. And the people.
So this is all lead up. This is all the lead up to Trump's reconstruction plan. I mean, this is. I think this is becoming almost like Obamacare. They're putting his name all over it. I'm quite sure he didn't come up with all these points, but there's 20 points. I think we'll skip around to some of the bigger highlights here, but give you a better idea of what is in store for Gaza. Apparently, we're only waiting for Hamas to sign on the dotted line. Of course, I don't know why their cooperation would be needed, other than they're mentioned quite a bit in this plan. But I'm sure if Hamas says no, then I guess this whole thing's off. That's oops, we hung it all on the word of a terrorist group. That's a bit of a pie in their face, I guess. But this is President Donald J. Trump's comprehensive plan to end the Gaza conflict. Stop me anytime, Jim, if you want to give your 2 cents on everything. Number one, Gaza will be de-radicalized, terror-free zone that does not pose a threat to its neighbors. Number two, Gaza will be redeveloped for the benefit of the people of Gaza, who have suffered more than enough. Oh, how'd they suffer? I don't know. I thought they were being liberated. Number three,
Sunspots.
if both sides agree to this proposal, the war will immediately end. Israel forces will withdraw to the agreed upon line to prepare for a hostage release. During this time, all military operations, including aerial and artillery bombardment, will be suspended, and battle lines will remain frozen until conditions are met for the complete staged withdrawal. So they are finally getting a ceasefire and at least one war zone. So that's Witkoff and co can feel good about that. Within 72 hours, Israel publicly accepted this agreement. All hostages alive and deceased will be returned. Once all hostages are returned, Israel will release 250 life sentence prisoners plus 1,700 Gazans who were detained after October 7th, 2023, including all women, children detained in that context. For every Israeli hostage who remains are released, Israel will release the remains of 15 deceased Gazans. So
okay. Hang on one second there. Hang on 1 second there.
Yeah.
So 4 says they're going to release all hostages alive and deceased. And that's kind of front loaded. You have a ceasefire, you release the hostages, the Israeli hostages. And it's weird because obviously in number 4, they're referring to all Israeli hostages, dead, alive and dead. And then after that, I think you can probably say, and none of the rest of this will take place. Because once those hostages are released, that pretty much is the last thing that Bibi really needs out of Gaza. I mean, that's his big political domestic problem. And it's very, very strange. For every as deceased Israeli hostage remains, there will be 15 Gazan remains. I mean, so they're going to just say, okay, and after we run out of Israeli hostages, no more remains for you. I mean, what is that?
For every Israeli hostage whose remains are released. So for every dead Israeli hostage, Israel will release the remains of 15 deceased Gazans.
Exactly. So once you run out of hostage remains and you're 15, per, does that mean no more Gazan remains will be returned? I guess. Just hang on to them just for trophies or something. I don't know exactly what. And of course, the other thing too is that the Gazans are not, the Hamas is not in a position, as far as I know, to seize any more Israeli hostages. I guess they could capture some of the IDF personnel during the fighting, but they can always, they can release 1,700 Gazans, and then they can grab however many more they want at any time they want during the course of hostilities, or they can grab people from the West Bank. I mean, Israelis could always restock their prisoners, so to speak. The Hamas cannot. So that's a pretty even though it's a lopsided return of numbers, one's got a finite stock and the other one doesn't.
Don Browning over here, super fan of the show, just says, I read there was 3,500 Palestinians being held without charge across 9 Israeli prisons, though. Yeah. I mean,
yeah, and that's what I'm saying. That's
maybe
part of the point.
1,700, maybe 1,700 are the only ones that are left alive or official, technically, right?
Well, the other thing notes in there a bit about releasing women and children. So what children are the Israelis holding? Isn't that a little bit odd?
The bad ones, Jim. The bad ones.
They're bad kids. Okay.
Yeah.
Very strange. I mean, I just thought that reference was very strange because it says, including all women and children detained in that context. What does that mean?
It's very ghoulish as well, right? Like, I understand this is what happens. Obviously, they've been going at war. Obviously, like, they've been, holding people, all the rest of it. There's hostages and, I guess, detainees on both sides, kind of thing. So this has to be said, because of the situation. But at the same time, it's very ghoulish. I mean, just for every Israeli hostage who remains or released, Israel released the remains of 15 deceased Gazans. Like, why 15? Why not, like, where'd that number come from?
Or why not? Why not all of them? I mean, yeah. I mean,
sure.
And like I said, once you run out of that tally, do they just keep all the rest of the
do they have
remains? And then look at 6.
Are they stockpiling these things?
Like, yeah. I don't know. I'm saying look at 6 and 7. Is that then Hamas has to decommission their weapons, and then only then, after that, assuming that ever happens, does aid start going into Gaza. So that really means is that withholding or blocking humanitarian aid will go on until hostages and remains are released and Hamas lays down its weapons. So you're basically still using food as a weapon until that time.
Right. Number 6 and 7 is once all hostages are returned, Hamas members who commit to peaceful coexistence and to decommission their weapons will be given amnesty. Right. Members of Hamas who wish to leave Gaza will be provided safe passage to receiving countries. And number 7, upon acceptance of this agreement, full aid will be immediately sent into Gaza Strip. At a minimum, aid quantities will be consistent with what was included in the January 19th, 2025 agreement regarding humanitarian aid, including rehabilitation of infrastructure, water, electricity, sewage, rehabilitation of hospitals and bakeries, and entry of necessity equipment to remove rubble and open roads. So yeah, like you said, they have basically Hamas and anyone who's, I guess, any armed Palestinian will have to get rid of all their arms. I guess there'll have to be some way of checking that. We don't know how that would go. What kind of guarantee that can be given? But let's assume that that does get reached. Then standard humanitarian aid will be given. Getting us back in line with.
So how and under the best of circumstances, how many weeks would it take to get to that point?
Months. It could be a year.
Yeah.
I mean, decommission all the weapons. What does that even mean? How do you check for that?
Yeah. Look at it from both sides. If you were Hamas, would you be giving up your weapons?
Of course.
And if you were the Israelis, would you believe that Hamas had given up their weapons?
Of course not.
No.
Yeah. So I don't even understand how they would check for this. But like you said, there's still the threat of like, do what we say or we'll starve your people to death. In Minecraft, right? And this is, hey, Israel's a good guys. This is just good guy starvation. This is like very moral, incredibly virtuous starvation.
Mm-hmm.
It's just what you do. Number 9, Gaza will be governed under the temporary transitional governance of a technocratic, apolitical Palestinian committee. I love apolitical. That's the one that gets me just kind of chuckling. responsible for delivering the day-to-day running of public service and municipalities for the people in Gaza. The committee will be made up of qualified Palestinians and international experts with oversight and supervision by a new international transitional body, the Board of Peace. Orwell would be proud, which will be headed and chaired by President Donald J. Trump. Now, I've heard this Emerging Perspective said yesterday that apparently when Trump made this announcement, he also gave the caveat that he didn't actually want to be on the board, that he was basically talked into it, or it had to be, his name had to be associated with it to make the deal happen, kind of thing. Do with what you will. So that which will be headed and chaired by President Donald J. Trump, with other members and heads of state to be announced, including former Prime Minister Tony Blair, our man from Carlisle. This body will set the framework and handle the funding for the redevelopment of Gaza until such time as the Palestinian Authority has completed its reform program as outlined in various proposals, including President Trump's peace plan in 2020 and the Saudi-French proposal, and can securely and effectively take back control of Gaza. Well, I mean, I'm assuming that all the other points would have to also be met before this. So if take back control of Gaza, if Hamas has laid down his weapons, has conceded to all the other things, has given up all the hostages in return for some dead bodies, and decommissioned all his weapons, I mean, that would be pretty much them being like whoever is Saudi, French, America, Israel would effectively be in control of Gaza at that point. Like, what's Hamas going to do? Send strongly worded letters to the New York Times? I mean, I don't understand. This body will call on the best international standards to create modern and effective governance that serves the people of Gaza.
Mm-hmm.
It's conducive to attracting investment. Should I go on? Number 10.
Yeah.
A Trump economic development plan to rebuild and energize Gaza. Energize. It's that's what's lacking in Gaza, Jim. It's energy. It's just not
energy.
They've lost their pep. Really, just their mojo is waning a little bit. It must be the destroyed building and all the dead children. To rebuild and energize Gaza will be created by convening a panel of experts who have helped birth some of the thriving modern miracle cities in the Middle East. Many thoughtful investment proposals and exciting development ideas have been crafted by well-meaning international groups and will be considered to synergize the security and governance framework to attract and facilitate these investments that will create jobs, opportunity, and a hope for future Gaza. Number 11, a special economic...
No, you forgot, and transmutate base metals into gold.
Right. Well, that was their major export for a long time, wasn't it? Number 11, a special economic zone will be established with preferred tariff and access rates to be negotiated with participating countries. Number 12, no one will be forced to leave Gaza, and those who wish to leave will be free to do so and free to return. We will encourage people to stay and offer them the opportunity to build a better Gaza. Build back better, but in Gaza this time. That's nice. Hamas, so just so people understand, like there's been plan A and plan B. We've detailed and talked about this a lot on the show and many of my other shows as well. There are some overarching bridges between the two plans, apparently. Mm-hmm. Building back better is certainly one of them. Number 13, Hamas and other factions agreed to not have any role in the governance of Gaza directly, indirectly, or in any form. All military, terror, and offensive infrastructure, including tunnels and weapon production facilities, will be destroyed and not rebuilt. There will be a process of demilitarization of Gaza under the supervision of independent monitors, which will include placing weapons permanently beyond use through an agreed process of decommissioning, and supported by an internationally funded buyback and reintegration program, all verified by the independent monitors. New Gaza will be fully committed to building a prosperous economy and to peaceful coexistence with their neighbors. I can just see the video package for this. New Gaza, From the rubble. From the rubble of Gaza, rebuilt New Gaza, the new infrastructure zone, with Hamas, with McDonald's on every corner, halal McDonald's. It's a wonderful place. A guarantee will be provided by regional partners to ensure that Hamas and their factions comply with the obligations, and that New Gaza poses no threat to its neighbors or its people. Number 15, the United States will work with Arab and international partners to develop a temporary international stabilization force, ISF, to immediately deploy in Gaza. The ISF will train and provide support to vetted Palestinian police forces in Gaza and will consult with Jordan and Egypt, who have extensive experience in this field. This force will be the long-term internal security solution. The ISF will work with Israel and Egypt to help secure border areas, along with newly trained Palestinian police forces. It is critical to prevent munitions from entering Gaza and to facilitate the rapid, secure flow of goods to rebuild and revitalize Gaza. A deconfliction mechanism will be agreed upon by the parties. Number 16, Israel will not occupy or annex Gaza. As the ISF established control and stability, the Israeli Defense Force, IDF, will withdraw based on standards, milestones, and timeframes linked to demilitarization that will be agreed upon between the IDF, ISF, the guarantors, and the United States, with the objective of a secure Gaza that no longer poses a threat to Israel, Egypt, or its citizens. Practically, the IDF will progressively hand over Gaza territory it occupies to the ISF. Wow. And next week, some pigs are going to fly right out my ass there, Jim.
Well, here's the other thing. This is supposed to be a transitional thing, but you notice it doesn't say about what it's transitioning to. I mean, it's
New Gaza.
It says Israel will not occupy or annex. So, okay, but is New Gaza a state? Is it a state? It's obviously not going to be a state. It will be this kind of
investment.
I don't know, condominium of all these other guarantees and guarantors and stakeholders, including the United States, Israel, various Arab countries, Egypt, Jordan, et cetera. It'll be sort of like this thing that doesn't have any clear status except as a construction project, presumably.
Some wonderful beachfront properties, Jim. The real estate alone. Think of it.
Cushion land.
Practically, the IDF will progressively hand over Gaza territory that occupies the ISF according to an agreement they will make with the transitional authority. I love how they keep saying this transitional thing. It's all in transit. It's all transitional. Don't worry. It's eventually these
transition things will to what? They never say.
Never do.
Yeah.
This is the two-state solution, though. This is essentially what they're securing. Save for a security perimeter. Okay. Let me just read this again. The IDF will progressively hand over the Gaza territory it occupies to the ISF according to an agreement they will make with the transitional authority until they are withdrawn completely from Gaza, save for a security perimeter presence that will remain until Gaza is properly secure from any resurgent terror threat. So never, ever.
Number 17 makes no sense. Makes no sense. In the event Hamas delays or rejects this proposal, this whole proposal, the above, including the scaled-up aid operation, will proceed in the terror-free areas handed over from the IDF to the ISF. But unless this proposal is agreed, there will be no ISF. So how can they possibly proceed with any of Provision 17 if Hamas rejects this proposal? It's in other words, they're talking about something that would happen under the proposal if this proposal is rejected.
Right. But basically means like you're either going to accept this proposal and then all these other things are going to happen, I guess, directly after that acceptance.
Yeah.
Or you're going to reject the proposal and we'll keep bombing you while we start doing this thing anyways. Like this thing is going to happen. The only question is, do you get paid out? Do you take the money that we're going to give you or not? Because they're all going to get paid out.
Well, at least it's going to be interfaith. Look at number 18. Tolerance and peaceful coexistence and interfaith dialogue.
This one's great. Number 18, an interfaith dialogue process will be established based on the values of tolerance and peaceful coexistence to try and change mindsets and narratives of Palestinians and Israelis by emphasizing the benefits that can be derived from peace. Abrahamic, man. Come on. They're all. What,
Yeah, I was going to say, at least
Palestinian Christians?
at least it's a relief they didn't put the phrase Abrahamic faiths in there. I mean,
Right.
I was looking for the Abrahamic part. That that really rots my socks.
Number 19, while Gaza redevelopment advances and when the PA reform program is faithfully carried out, the conditions may finally be in place for a credible pathway to Palestinian self-determination and statehood. So,
Oh, okay. Finally, we get. Wait. Yeah, this is what it's okay. This is the transition to a Palestinian state. All right then. Well, okay,
so
that's Miller time.
let's just read that one again because this is stunning. While Gaza redevelopment advances and when the PA reform program is faithfully carried out, so you got to do it perfectly.
Abrahamic,
Make sure
Abrahamic faithfully.
Abrahamic faithfully. God, God bless. The conditions may maybe finally be in place for a credible pathway to Palestinian self-determination and statehood, which we recognize as the aspiration of the Palestinian people. Number 20, the United States will establish a dialogue between Israel and the Palestinians to agree on a political horizon for peaceful and prosperous coexistence. Thoughts, Jim? Sorry, I don't mean to laugh. It's not funny. None of this is funny. The only reason I laugh is because it's so absurd to me and so nakedly in your face. Like, here it is.
Yeah. Well,
oh, you don't like
let's
it?
Start with a couple.
Yeah.
Well, let's start with a couple things. One is Hamas rejects it and all hell breaks loose in Gaza. More of the same.
Right.
Hamas accepts it, and it starts a kind of a process that's front-loaded for the release of the Israeli hostages and the remains. And at that point, my guess is the Israelis, truthfully or not, accuse Hamas of breaking the deal, and then we go back to Plan A anyway. I don't think any of the rest of that stuff is going to happen. The other thing to keep in mind, Jason, is by all accounts, the Israel-Iran war is going to kick up again long before this agreement, assuming even it's accepted on all sides, starts to move. Can this agreement survive what is likely to be a much more devastating and perhaps general Middle Eastern war? I don't think so. So anyway, I think other events this will be overtaken by events a long time before anything like this is going to happen.
Well, I mean, it's interesting putting Trump on the board, anyways. I mean, like let's be honest. Even if let's just say everything goes perfectly to plan, right? Like the Hamas accepts this. Maybe the Iran war is put on hold indefinitely. Who knows, right? Let's just play in the sandbox of the absurd because we're already there. Why not? Let's build some castles. I mean, at minimum, you're talking like a 10-year process. Right, just to get like some basics things done, removing all the rubble, like just clearing out the rubble of Gaza, which is like Gaza at this point, will take years, like seriously years, to just make it into a parking lot. So we're talking like a 10-year plan just to get into the development phase. So I don't know. I guess my question is this, and I'm going to read this also from the drop site. It's called "The Great Trust: From a Demolished Iranian Proxy to a Prosperous Abrahamic Ally." So Abraham gets mentioned. I'm just wondering why. Like, you got to produce something. But to me, this feels more like this is a kind of a generalized plan. You could take any of these things, change them around for Ukraine. You could change it around for California.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Hey, now we're talking.
Mm-hmm. Right. Let's read this. I didn't show you this. Yeah. It's from Drop Site. The Great Trust: From a Demolished Iranian Proxy to a Prosperous Abrahamic Ally. The Financial Times investigation has revealed a controversial post-war Gaza blueprint titled "The Great Trust: From a Demolished Iranian Proxy to a Prosperous Abrahamic Ally," developed by a group of Israeli businessmen with 2 staff members from the Tony Blair Institute, joining planning calls and messaging groups, and a 5-member Boston consulting group (BCG) team contributing financial modeling and slide design. You got to get those slides. It's a nice presentation. GREAT is an acronym for Gaza Reconstruction, Economic Acceleration, and Transformation. I just puked in my mouth. Reimagines Gaza as a privatized investment hub aligned with U.S. and Gulf business interests, with new infrastructure looming it to the India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor, and enabling access to 1.3 trillion in rare earth minerals from Western Saudi Arabia. Key details. All public land in Gaza would be placed into a development trust whose assets would be sold to investors via blockchain tokens. Now, just an interesting thing, right? Because Jim, you had brought up that that rare earths thing that Trump and Zelensky signed.
Oh yeah, right.
Interesting thing when you actually get into the pass the fold on that. What they basically did establish was a developmental trust, essentially for rare earth materials in Ukraine, but it's basically just a land grab, saying that wherever these rare earths exist, well, that land will be put into a trust, and that trust will then be administered by U.S. and I guess allied interests.
Sure.
And then again, we see the blockchain tokens, right? Privately owned Palestinian land could be. Yep. Good.
Yeah. Talk about the blockchain tokens a bit. I mean, which any blockchain tokens, specific ones? I mean, again, are we talking about U.S. stablecoin, or are we talking about anybody with Bitcoin?
It'd be stablecoin, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Maybe it might be open. It might open it up.
Which means this is all a digital shell game with American debt that supposedly is going to finance all this.
Mm-hmm. Someone's saying the drop site you post you are reading a straight AI. I don't care. I see this pairs up directly to the thing we were just reading before, which is not AI. So I don't really care. If the information is the information, I don't care who wrote it. Privately owned Palestinian land can be contributed in exchange for a token redeemable for a future housing unit. The model assumes a 25% voluntary relocation of Gazans, offering $9,000 per person to encourage permanent departure. The trust would govern Gaza until it's deemed demilitarized and de-radicalized, after which control could shift to an independent Palestinian polity. The side deck, including a speculative 324 billion GDP projection, was built on BCG modeling, which their firm later disavowed. One Tony Blair Institute staffer authored a document shared within the group outlining artificial islands, blockchain trade, and tax-free zones. TBI claimed the paper summarized others' ideas and denied helping produce the final deck. The presentation features logos of companies like Tesla, Amazon, and IKEA, implying investor interest, although none were consulted or involved, according to FT. The deck includes 10 so-called mega projects, among them a Trump Riviera, Elon Musk's smart manufacturing zone, MBS Ring Highway, and MBZ Central, designed to appeal to Trump and Gulf investors. Now, okay, so I guess if the complaint here is that this just sounds like a wish list of Santa Claus, that might be very true, but this is what at least sounds like is part of the nitty gritty of what we just read, in terms of like, how would they get this done? How would they get this financing? Where are the investment schemes coming from? This seems to be the blueprint for it, and we'll see if this goes forward. In a nutshell, the Great Trust proposal would see Gaza reconstruction and governance stripped from Palestinian hands and see local ownership and land records replaced with tokenized systems run by a foreign trust. It involves mass displacement, ethnic cleansing for redevelopment, and advertises colonial land theft in a language of innovation and trade. And so this is sort of a graphic of a leaked graphic of what they envision this to be. So There's the full story here.
looks like Candor from a Superman movie.
Right? Well, dream big. Yeah. So Cool Dude says this plan is very wacky. I agree with you. Now, just because it's a plan doesn't mean it's going to work. Doesn't mean that it's going to be
I
what's
think that's quite an
implemented.
understatement. Yes, that's correct. Yeah, it's not. I don't think it's going to be implemented at all.
You don't think at all, eh? What's your thoughts?
No. My thought is it's going to crash and burn like at point 4 once the hostages are released, and then we're going to go back to plan A. Wipe the place out.
Which is full Israeli dominance and control of Gaza or whatever.
Yeah.
Parking lot.
Yeah.
Nice beach, nice parking lot before the beach.
And I think that itself will probably be subsumed into a broader conflict in the Middle East that'll go back, what we reignited once Israel and Iran go back to conflict. That's my best guess. I mean,
Haaretz is already reporting on it that we're going to start seeing that conflict. Yeah. I mean, I'm surprised it hasn't. I guess they've been busy. They've been busy with all this, Jim. So it'll resume. I'm sure. We're just in the start of October. So give it a few weeks before Christmas.
Yeah, could happen anytime. I've been saying by the end of the year, but it could be tomorrow. We just don't know.
Well, now that this is wrapped up, I guess because everyone's got the signs, so now it's just hanging on Hamas. But I guess they can hang around for that for a while. Because I guess the ceasefire doesn't.
Well, remember, let's remember what happened in Doha a few weeks ago. Of course, Netanyahu has apologized for that. But okay, if this is all hanging on an answer from Hamas, I suppose you could always kill the negotiators, and that would be a resolution of that negotiation in one sense, right?
Just give them some new pagers. Look, the new pagers. No, not like the old ones. Not like the old ones.
We're waiting for your answer. Let us know your answer on this via this pager that we're kindly giving you.
Yes. Please answer your page at exactly. Well, What? Okay, so let's just speculate before we get to Moldova. Let's just speculate wildly on Israel-Iran, because now I guess whether they've been stockpiling missiles. I don't know what they've been doing. I don't know how it would be different this time around. The only thing that I guess the Iranians always have to worry about is the use of nuclear weapons. And I've been now seeing, and with these, they always tout at some rabbi. It's always some rabbi who's now saying crazy stuff, seemingly crazy stuff about how Israel hasn't used the bomb before, but push them a little too far and they will. And that seems to be like there seems to be a push within the Israeli government for use of a nuclear bomb or something in that vicinity. So I mean, I guess is that the end game? Just nuke Tehran?
Jason, it very well may be, and that's obviously the dilemma for the Iranians. Is that as much as they may try to shore up all the weaknesses that they demonstrated in the 12-day war, where they got caught flat-footed, how do they actually come out on top? Even if they, have devastating missile strikes, unless they could somehow knock out Israel's nuclear capability, and I don't see how they can do that. So how do they play their cards so that they don't end up at the receiving end of a nuclear weapon? I can only follow what some of the other people you see on podcasts that have more military knowledge than I do. That apparently the Iranians are in a much stronger position than they were during the 12 days. The Israelis really are not in a much stronger position, that their defenses are not that much upgraded from what they were, partly back to what we talked about with Ukraine. We just don't have the stuff to give them, and the stuff we give them is not very good anyway. And so that they really cannot defend themselves from Iranian missiles, some of which are hypersonic. So how do the Iranians come out on top? Nonetheless, given that, the Israelis have the ace of spades, they've got the trump card here. If they come to time, and somebody I was listening to today was saying that Jonathan Pollard, you remember him, is saying wrote something recently saying yes, this will end with an Israeli nuclear strike on Tehran. I don't know how we avoid that.
Yeah. Well, I guess then the question is,
I think Trump would like to avoid that. Again, you heard about the story about the whole Kabuki theater, about our strike, that was designed to offset an Iranian strike, an Israeli strike. But I think we're likely to get there anyway.
yeah. I mean, I don't sense any restraint from Israel. Now, I've speculated, just as I suppose, that, and I have, again, no real factual reason to believe this. It's just more of like maybe a little gut instinct, and go, well, let's play with this narrative and see how this plays out. I have this kind of almost feeling that Trump is giving Israel a lot of rope so it can hang itself. The only issue here is, now with this plan that's being revealed and Trump's name is all over it now, whether that's because he's willing or it's being pushed that way, who knows? But okay, so let's assume that he's giving Israel all this rope to hang themselves, or at least for Bibi to hang himself, and maybe Likud to have to be forced to change. I mean, if they drop a nuke on Tehran, I mean, what world do we live in then? Because we've been conditioned to believe that the use of nuclear weapon is just like, well, okay, well, that's it, right? Whoever does that next is the bad guy.
Right. Yeah, I don't necessarily see it that way. First off, I don't think Trump is giving Bibi enough rope to hang himself. I think Trump is Bibi's, trying to think of a polite way to say this. He's Bibi's loyal servant. The Bibi is the real president of the United States, and Trump can kind of, like he does on Ukraine, he can kind of scuffle around trying to find some way to make his own situation less painted into the corner than it is. But he doesn't have a lot of room for maneuver. When the chips are down and Bibi says, "I want this," he gets it. And if it gets to the point where the Israelis believe they're going to use nuclear weapons, and Trump can try to do whatever he can do to mollify them and keep them from doing it. But at the end of the day, if they decide to do it, not only will they do it, but we will back them up and run political interference for them. Now, you're right. What does the world look like after that? In other words, when that threshold has been crossed for the first time since 1945, what happens then in the rest of the world? India, Pakistan, do other countries start building their nuclear weapons? I don't know actually, to tell the truth, Jason, the only way I can see the Iranians could get out of this would be to produce a nuclear weapon before they get hit. And I don't know if they can do that. And I certainly don't think they could do it without the Israelis finding out that they were intending to do it, and then bring about the very thing that they're trying to avoid. So, I don't really see the way out, but I do see that it's very possible that that's where this all goes. The Americans will back it up all the way, although they won't. A lot of people in Washington won't like it, and then we'll live in a new world then that nobody really knows what it looks like.
Yeah, I mean, just geopolitically, once that almost that guarantee is taken off the table, and of course, obviously, the allies are
forget the Iranians. Do the Turks start getting a nuke? Remember, we just saw that recent agreement signed between Pakistan and Saudi Arabia, which in all likelihood includes provisions for Pakistan to provide nuclear weapons to Saudi Arabia if they ask for them. And that's something that could happen extremely quickly if the Saudis decided that the only way to guarantee their security and not end up like Iran might end up is to have nuclear weapons of their own. Right. And at that point, are they willing to be that much of an American puppet?
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know where that goes in terms of Turkey. I mean, we know where we've covered this. Obviously, the Orthodox predictions about the coming World War III in terms of a hot war, and Turkey's heavily featured in that. I think a more nuclearized world, or let's say it goes okay. Let's say it's not nuclear. Let's say they all start developing supersonic missiles and or subatomics, but delivered by drones. So a $13 drone can drop, just shy of a nuclear warhead on a city, and there's your thing. And then that brings us back to this plan. So, while we're looking at this rationally and reasonably from our perspective, from where things are right now, this whole plan is mashugana, because I mean, like, at best it's going to take 10 to 20 years to even start developing it. But if this is sort of the blueprint for a post-nuclear world where they're just planning on blowing up a whole bunch of cities and then rebuilding them,
that's
Phoenix from the flame.
Thought. I mean, hey, this is where we get into transhumanism and everything else. These are not necessarily human cities, are they? Or rather, the human presence is much reduced from what it is today. That's entirely possible.
Anyways, Moldova. Roll over, Moldova. Hey, and as Buck Johnson, Moldy, and who else is in there? Harry's telling hit the like button, folks. Let the people know where to find us. I finally got visibility fully back on YouTube. Wow, it's been a long time. We'll see how long it lasts. But while it's lasting, let people know. Either send me some money, or at least like and share and subscribe and put some comments in the comments section. Even if you tell me I'm all full of poop. I'm developing thicker skin as we go through the years. So
there you go.
Drop me a comment in the comments section below. Every little bit helps in terms of visibility and promoting the show and getting our numbers back to where they were a year ago. So Moldova, tell us all about Moldova, Jim.
Well, two things to keep in mind.
I'm going to put you on the big screen. Here we go. There we go. Tell us all about Moldova.
Two things to start with. One is, you probably know there's that little sliver of Moldova, or considers itself not part of Moldova, Transnistria, called Pridnestrovia in Russian. And you may recall there was a little flurry of reports about a week or 10 days ago that the Russians were, what were the Russians? The Russians were planning on doing something from Transnistria has a Russian force station there, and apparently a very large stockpile of Soviet era munitions that would be of great use to the Ukrainians. And there was speculation that the Ukrainians and some of the Western governments were raising a big hue and cry about something the Russians are going to do, launching an attack from Transnistria as a pretext for Ukraine and Moldova to move against Transnistria. Now, of course, this was in the lead up to the Moldovan election. The Moldovan election, which all the polls were showing the pro-Russian side, again, like Ukraine, a very divided country, the pro-Russian side was in a good position to win. And then we saw the EU. We didn't see much of an American hand, but we saw a very strong EU and Soros hand in making sure that the pro-EU faction under the president, what's her name, Maya, I think his first name, Sandu, would come out ahead, including, by the way, things like banning opposition parties like a day or two before the election, when presumably ballots had already been printed up without those parties on them. So how did they know in advance that those parties would be banned from the election? Things like having only 2 polling stations open in all of Russia for something like 400,000 Moldovans who live in Russia, so that out of the 400,000 or 350,000, whatever it is, only 4,000 votes were permitted to be cast in the election in the election, presumably most of them for the pro-Russian parties. And even at that, Sandu, our little friend here, with Alex Soros, only managed to eke out, what is it, a 50.2% vote to give her like a 1 or 2 seat majority in the legislature. So even with all those shenanigans, they could barely manage a majority. Meanwhile, you have all the usual suspects, Keir Starmer, all, Ursula von der Leyen, all those people, all, high-fiving. Moldova has made its historic choice. Moldova is coming west. I mean, they're taking that as a mandate for Moldova, just like they did with Ukraine after the coup in 2014. So this is, and of course, to be honest, Jason, if the opposition had won, we would have seen a color revolution launch. Oh, the Russians stole the election. Everybody take to the streets, blah, blah, blah. So even if they had won democratically, that would not have been allowed to take power. Instead, they saved democracy by pulling every dirty trick in the book and getting away with it. And of course, the opposition parties, they're protesting. They're going to the Constitutional Court, blah, blah, blah. Of course, none of that will make any difference.
Here's from Lord Bibo. This is what I was sharing on the screen. Out of 300,000 residents of Transnistria, only 12,000 people were allowed to vote in the Moldovan parliamentary elections.
Right.
Out of the 500,000 Moldovians living in Russia, only 4,000 people were allowed to vote. In last year's presidential runoff, which was also viewed as a choice between East and West, a record number of 327,000 voters cast ballots abroad, more than 82% of whom favored Sandu. If you only allow the Moldovians in Europe to vote, but not the ones in Russia and Transnistria, EU wins. This is essentially election fraud.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just share
Exactly.
a little bit of Wikipedia in case people don't know Moldova. I mean, there's no reason for many to know Moldova. It's basically this little tiny state. You can think of maybe if you can think of Luxembourg, right, or one of those little landlocked European states. This is now in Eastern Europe.
Yeah, not quite that small.
Right. I mean, yeah, not it's not super tiny, but it's in terms of it's a weird little area.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just read from the Wikipedia. Moldova, officially the Republic of Moldova, is a landlocked country in Eastern Europe with an area of 33,843 kilometers squared and a population of 2.38 million. Moldova is bordered by Romania to the west and Ukraine to the north, east, and south. The unrecognized breakaway state of Transnistria lies across the Dniester River on the country's eastern border with Ukraine. Moldova is a unitary parliamentary representative democratic republic with its capital Chisinau, the country's largest city and main cultural commercial center. Yeah, just correct me. It's okay, Jim. It's we had that relationship.
Chisinau.
There you go.
Kishinev.
I defer to my French pronunciation of things occasionally. So if I say this,
by the way, I've been to Moldova many times, and Chisinau is a very interesting place because.
Did we lose Jim? We might have just lost Jim temporarily. See that Starlink? It sounds good. And I'm sure in some areas it's fantastic, but Jim's Starlink, Elon Musk, can we just get Elon Musk on the phone and have him send out a tech crew for Jim? Hang on a second. We'll just see if we can do this.
Everything you see.
Oh, here we go. You're back, Jim. You're frozen there for a bit. You're frozen again. Let it go. Let it go. Sorry. It's what happens when you have a 5. Oh, here we go.
You lost me.
Weird. Okay. Interesting.
No, I'm back.
I have 2 gyms in my chat.
I must be sorry. I must be seeing double 4 crusties.
I'm telling you. I don't know if I can kick. Okay, now we're back to 2. Okay, good.
Okay, am I back?
You were saying.
Yeah, I've been to Moldova. I've been to Moldova many times.
Man in Moldova.
Chisinau is a very interesting place. Remember, under the Soviet time, Moldovan was written which is basically Romanian, was written in the Cyrillic alphabet, which was the original Romanian alphabet. They only switched over to Romanian and Latin in the 1860s. And of course, as soon as it became independent, they switched over from the Cyrillic to the Latin alphabet. So everywhere in Chisinau, you see everything written in Romanian in the Latin alphabet, and almost everything you hear on the street is in Russian, which people still speak very, very widely because not everybody there is ethnically Moldovan.
Right.
And of course, even more so when you get into Pridnestrovia across the river there, which is a whole nother story. It's I don't know. I find it a charming place, but it's not really a functional state. Never really has been. And and of course, then you also have like a big minority of Christian Turks called the Gagauz, who have their own autonomous republic there. They tend to be very pro-Russian. In fact, they just sentenced the leader of the Gagauz Republic to, I think, 7 years in jail for some accused financial irregularity, which, again, is part of the lawfare that the so-called Democrats are waging against opposition. It's really pretty obscene.
Here's an interesting stat. I'll just read the end of this this Wikipedia thing. Under the presidency of Maya Sandu, elected in 2020, a pro-Western anti-corruption ticket, Moldova has pursued membership of the European. Yeah, I know, with the European Union, and was granted candidate status in June 2022. Extension talks to the EU began on the 13th of December 2023. Sandu has suggested to end an end to Moldova's constitutional commitment to military neutrality in favor of closer alliance with NATO. She strongly condemned Russia's invasion of neighboring Ukraine. So this is the interesting thing. Moldova is the second poorest country in Europe by GDP per official capita after Ukraine. And much of its GDP is dominated by the service sector. It has one of the lowest human development indexes in Europe, ranking 86th in the world. Moldova ranks 68th in the world on Global Innovation Index as of 2024. Moldova is a member state of the United Nations, the Council of Europe, the World Trade Organization, the Organization for Security and Cooperation Europe, the Guam Organization for Democracy and Economic Development, the Organization of the Black Sea Economic Corporation, and the Association Trio. So apparently, you can be broke as F in Europe, but you can sit on a whole bunch of economic boards. How does that work out? How does that make sense?
Yeah.
Anybody? No one? Great. Awesome. It's just absurd on his face forever. This is just clown show craziness. And also, so let me get this straight. The EU is pursuing the poorest country in Europe, aside from Ukraine, who's in a war, right? They're going to bring on Moldova to the economic union, which is doing so great economically, by the way. What are they going to do? How does this work out for anybody? Exactly.
Well, part of it too is that apparently the accession progress of Ukraine and Moldova are linked somehow. So that I think there was a big fear that if Moldova got a government that was not on the Western path to EU in Euro-Atlantic integration, whatever they call it, that would somehow harm Ukraine's chances of EU accession, which I think are zero anyway. But remember, right now, they're also trying to strip Slovakia and Hungary of their veto on new membership. So there's some shenanigans going on in terms of both Ukraine and Moldova with respect to the EU. And again, this was a must-win election for the Euro-Atlantic integrationists by hook or by crook, and mainly by crook.
I also love, that photograph, right, of Sandu and Soros, and no one's asking, one in the mainstream press, anyway, is asking the big giant question: why is Twinkie Soros there? Why? Why does he care about Moldova? Like,
why? Reasons.
Do they have a tight pants factory that he's just really hyped for? Like, it's what is he likes? Are the Moldovans kind of short so he can feel like a giant among men? I don't know. Like, why is he there? And why is nobody asking that question? It's just like, oh yeah, Twinkie Soros is there. Soros Jr. is there. Yeah, of course, business as usual. Water's wet, and he's being just showing up places.
Moldova is just a pawn on the chessboard. Ukraine is a rook or a bishop or maybe even a queen, but Moldova is just a pawn. And okay, the big boys come there, show they're interested. They don't want to lose the pawn, but and that also this then gets back to the Russians. Let's suppose, for the sake of argument, that the Ukrainians decide they really do want all those munitions in Transnistria, and Moldovans or maybe NATO attack Transnistria to reintegrate it back into Moldova the way Nagorno-Karabakh was just recently reintegrated back into Azerbaijan, what would the Russians do about it? A lot of people, again, the same old kind of thing you get from the usual suspect. Oh, the Russians wouldn't stand for that. There would be consequences to pay. My guess is they would sit there with their thumb in their ear and do nothing.
Well, I mean, what can they do? Launch a second offensive for Moldova? Like,
no, they could do what they should be doing all along. They should be dropping Oreshniks into Kiev and destroying the presidential administration, the SBU, military headquarters, the Rada, and the whole Ukrainian government. But they're not doing that, are they?
In Minecraft.
You think they were
in Minecraft?
There was the things you would be doing if you were fighting a war to actually win it. But I don't see them doing that, do you?
Yeah. I mean, and again, this just brings into more speculation as we see this Trump Gaza plan unfurl. I'm
surprised we don't see it. Oh, there, I'm back.
Yeah.
Again.
You're surprised that
I'm surprised we don't see Vladimir Putin on the board for Gaza too. Why not? Or maybe that guy Medinsky, his negotiator. He's the economic guy, right?
Well, only time will tell, Jim. There's plenty of time. Come on. It is. I say it's later than you think, but I mean, like, how later?
Possibly go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong? I mean, these people are so smart. They're so much better than us, Jim. It's laughable. Ladies and gentlemen, mesdames, messieurs, thank you so much. Thank you for all the likes. Thank you all the subscribes. Thank you for all the money. Thank you for Don and Harry and all the other people in the chat. I see Conrad's in the chat as well. We got to get Conrad back on, and maybe get Buck on.
Okay,
we should get Buck on here. $10 from Don Browning. To quote the character Daryl Kerrigan from the Aussie movie The Castle, tell him the crikey, tell him the dreaming.
Crikey. Well, I see Don posted a nice little pair of pants emoji.
Yes, Don. I gotta watch this movie, The Castle. It's an Aussie thing. It's right up there, like with Mad Max. Aussies talk about The Castle like it's like legendary status. So I gotta check this out. Of course, go buy Jim's book. I Try to Warn You. The collective works of James George Jatras. Links in the description below. Go get yourself some tickets at expatmoneysummit.com and go see Jim on the board talking about geopolitics next weekend. Next weekend.
No, the weekend after.
No, this week is the 5th.
Depends what you meant by next.
12th and 13th.
This week is the 4th and 5th. Yeah,
okay, not this weekend coming. Not this weekend. The weekend of the 5th and 6th, but the one after.
Correct, Mundo. Yes. Jawohl.
I can tell. I'm fearing you guys are rolling your clock backs now. So starting Sunday, I got to start doing.
Yeah. When does that happen?
Math times. It's the worst. Of course.
Another thing to blame the Germans for.
Was that a German invention? God damn them.
Yeah, World War One.
It starts on the Sunday, the 5th. November 2nd. November 2nd. I thought it was October 5th.
Yeah. No. Oh. I don't know. Maybe in Australia it is.
Oh.
Wait, you don't have daylight saving time anymore, do you?
Not in my state. They do in other states.
What a stupid thing.
Why is Father's Day in September here and not in June? Who knows? Well, it doesn't matter.
Nobody cares because nobody cares about Father's Day.
It's true. No one cares about fathers. I live this reality all the time, Jim. And of course, thank you, folks.
Papa. He's got nothing at all.
I can't even cry about it because then they'd be like, "What are you crying? You're not a man. What are you? Just man it up. Don't cry about it." You're like, "Fuck, okay." I'll just
stiff upper lip.
Of course, ladies and gentlemen, this is Marinchuk Now. Oh, this is Then and Now, one of the shows on Marinchuk Now. We'll be back tomorrow. A little bit of Marinchuk Live, talking about love and hate and getting into some of those kind of territories and some orthodoxy. I appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in, and we'll see you again soon. I am Jason Marinchuk, and it's later than you think.